Listen carefully. Attachment is the silent chain around your neck. The more you cling to people, outcomes, praise, comfort, the weaker you become. This audiobook is not about becoming cold. It's about becoming untouchable. When you detach, you see clearly. When you see clearly, you act decisively. And when you act without emotional dependence, nothing controls you. Not fear. Not loss. Not rejection. Detach, or be destroyed by what you refuse to release. Chapter 1. Stop clinging or stay controlled. Here is the truth most people avoid because it exposes them. You are not tired. You are not unlucky. You are not misunderstood. You are attached. And attachment is control. The moment something outside of you determines how you feel, how you act, and how you decide, you are no longer free. You are managed. Quietly. Invisibly. Completely. You have a choice. Always. You can cling, or you can command your life. That's the key. Most people don't lose power all at once. They leak it. Slowly. Daily. Through emotional attachment. They attach to people who validate them. Jobs that define them. Status symbols that impress strangers. Outcomes they cannot guarantee. And once attached, they obey. They tolerate disrespect because walking away feels painful. They accept mediocrity because uncertainty feels scary. They stay silent when they should speak, and speak when silence would make them stronger. Why? Because what you cling to commands you. Read that again. What you cling to commands you. If losing something terrifies you, that thing owns you. You don't need their permission to live freely. You don't need their approval to walk away. You don't need their validation to choose yourself. But attachment convinces you otherwise. Let's talk about relationships. Many people say they're loyal. They're not. They're afraid. Afraid of being alone. Afraid of starting over. Afraid of losing the identity they built around another person. So they tolerate disrespect. They explain themselves endlessly. They negotiate their standards down to zero. That's not love. That's dependency. And dependency is weakness disguised as emotion. It's not about caring. It's about clinging. It's not about connection. It's about fear. You have a choice. Detach or stay controlled. Now let's talk about work. How many people stay in jobs they hate because the paycheck feels safer than their self-respect? They say, I can't leave. What they mean is, I'm attached. Attached to comfort. Attached to routine. Attached to a title that gives them meaning. So they shrink. They obey bad leadership. They kill their ambition to protect their stability. That's the trade. Security for self-betrayal. And here's the brutal part. The job doesn't love you back. It will replace you without emotion, without guilt, without explanation. Yet you remain emotionally loyal. Why? Because what you cling to commands you. Status works the same way. People chase symbols instead of strength. Cars, watches, followers, applause. They build identities around how they are perceived instead of who they are. So when that status is threatened, they panic. They defend. They overreact. They become predictable. And predictable people are easy to control. That's the key. Detachment is not coldness. Detachment is clarity. When you detach, you don't stop caring. You stop depending. You still show up. You still work hard. You still build relationships. But your emotional center stays internal, unmovable. You don't need their permission to walk away from disrespect. You don't need their approval to raise your standards. You don't need their validation to feel whole. It's not about being heartless. It's about being unowned. Here's how detachment actually looks in real life. It looks like being willing to lose what you cannot control. It looks like saying, If this ends, I'll survive. And meaning it. It looks like doing your best, without begging for outcomes. Control actions. Release outcomes. That's the discipline. Most people reverse it. They obsess over outcomes and neglect actions. They cling to results they cannot force, and ignore habits they can. That's weakness. Detachment flips the equation. You focus on what's in your control. Your effort. Your standards. Your behavior. And you release the rest. You have a choice. Stay emotionally hostage, or take your power back. Here's a simple test to expose your attachments. Ask yourself, what am I afraid to lose? Who do I tolerate too much from? Where do I explain myself instead of enforcing boundaries? Whatever comes up, that's where your power is leaking. That's what commands you. And here's the uncomfortable truth. People sense attachment immediately. They sense neediness. They sense fear. They sense hesitation. And they adjust their behavior accordingly. Respect doesn't come from words. It comes from the unspoken knowledge that you can walk away. Without drama. Without anger. Without explanation. No explanation is the explanation. That's the key. The most dangerous person in the room is not the loudest. It's the least attached. Because they cannot be manipulated. They cannot be rushed. They cannot be threatened with loss. They already accepted it. And once you accept loss, you gain freedom. This is where most people misunderstand detachment. They think detachment means quitting. It doesn't. Detachment means staying, without fear. It means working hard, without begging. Loving deeply, without dependence. Building, without clinging. You do not negotiate with life from desperation. You don't say, please don't take this from me. You say, if it stays, good. If it goes, I adapt. That mindset changes everything. Because now your decisions are clean. No emotional noise. No panic. No reaction. Just precision. That's why emotional attachment is dangerous. It clouds judgment. It delays action. It keeps you small. And attachment sharpens you. You stop chasing. You stop proving. You stop explaining. You move differently. Calmer. Slower. More deliberate. You don't need their permission. You have a choice. Detach or stay controlled. Remember this phrase. Burn it into your mind. What you cling to commands you. Every time you feel anxious about losing something, repeat it. Every time you hesitate to walk away, repeat it. Every time you lower your standards to keep something, repeat it. Because awareness is the first cut. You don't break attachment overnight. You weaken it through discipline. Through silence. Through boundaries. Through choosing long-term strength over short-term comfort. This chapter is the foundation. Because before you can master your emotions, before you can control your reactions, before you can become mentally untouchable, you must stop clinging. You have a choice. And now that you understand how attachment controls you, it's time to confront the next layer of weakness. The one that keeps you negotiating from below. You mastered the danger of clinging. Now let's expose the behavior that broadcasts it to everyone around you. Chapter 2. Neediness is negotiation from weakness. Here's the hard truth. Most people think asking for approval is normal. They think it's harmless. They think needing others validates connection. It doesn't. Needing is bargaining. Detachment is authority. You have a choice. You can stay desperate. You can beg for recognition. You can shape your life around the reactions of others. Or you can stop. You can step into authority. You can decide that your value is not negotiable. That's the key. Let's break it down. Every time you seek approval, you are negotiating from weakness. Every compliment you crave, every like you chase, every nod you hope for, They all chip away at your power. They turn your presence into a plea. They make your silence anxious, your words dependent, your actions reactive. Look at the workplace. The desperate employee overexplains. The desperate employee tolerates disrespect. The desperate employee agrees to tasks they cannot handle just to be liked. They think this strategy works. It doesn't. People sense neediness instantly. It's visible in tone, in hesitation, in overcompensation. And once they sense it, respect disappears. Authority evaporates. Influence dies. Needing is bargaining. Detachment is authority. Repeat that. Let it sink in. And it doesn't just apply to work. Relationships are worse. Emotional neediness is the silent killer of attraction. People feel it. They adjust their behavior. They take more than they give. They manipulate. And you comply, often unconsciously. You ask for reassurance. You explain your feelings repeatedly. You chase affection instead of commanding it. You hope instead of act. That's weakness. Detachment flips the equation. When you stop needing validation, you stop bargaining for attention. You stop seeking permission to exist. You stop begging to be understood. You create authority simply by standing in your own power. Here's how it works in practice. First, recognize the signals of neediness. Do you frequently check messages? Do you over-apologize? Do you feel anxious when someone disagrees or disagrees publicly? That's neediness. That's bargaining. That's weakness. Second, reverse it. Act first. Speak first. Decide first. Do not wait for recognition or approval. Do not seek validation before moving. Be firm. Be decisive. Do it for yourself. Not for them. Not for anyone else. You have a choice. Third, repeat relentlessly. Every interaction is practice. Every disagreement is a test. Every no you hear is an opportunity to reinforce your independence. Authority is built in the small, repeated actions of self-reliance. Needing is bargaining. Detachment is authority. Let's talk about social media, the modern breeding ground of neediness. Likes, comments, shares. Every notification is a dopamine hit. Every reaction validates existence. Every absence triggers panic. This is emotional dependency in digital form. And it's everywhere. Here's the exercise. Detach from the digital approval loop. Reduce your need for external affirmation. Don't post for likes. Don't seek praise. Don't measure worth by engagement. Create your own internal barometer of value. That's discipline. That's authority. That's untouchable power. In relationships, the same principle applies. Stop explaining yourself endlessly. Stop justifying your choices. Stop pleading for attention. Detachment does not mean withdrawal. It means you operate from strength. You engage without dependency. You show up without expectation. Here's a concrete rule. If your words are designed to get someone to like you, stop. If your actions exist to make someone approve you, stop. If your life feels conditional on someone else's response, stop. Replace it with, I act. I choose. I stand. I decide. I don't need their permission. That's the key. Neediness creates panic. Detachment creates calm. Panic is visible. Calm is magnetic. Panic repels. Calm commands. Panic negotiates. Calm dictates. You have a choice. You can remain the person who pleads silently for validation, who bargains invisibly for attention, who fears disapproval. Or you can become the person who moves with authority, who acts without permission, who commands respect without asking. That choice manifests everywhere. At work. In friendships. In business. In love. in every human interaction. Notice this: the most feared, respected, and influential people rarely seek approval. They don't bargain. They decide. They detach. That's why their words weigh more. That's why their actions matter more. That's why no one controls them. Detachment is not coldness. It's clarity. It's self-possession. It's authority. Needing is the slow erosion of freedom. Detachment is the armor of the untouchable. You have a choice. Choose discipline. Choose independence. Choose to act from authority. Choose to stop bargaining silently for approval. Remember the anchor: needing is bargaining. Detachment is authority. Repeat it. Live it. Breathe it. Apply it relentlessly. Now let's apply this principle to practical situations. If you want a promotion, act with excellence. Do not over-explain. Do not plead. Do not seek praise. Deliver results. Let your work speak. Detachment in action. Authority in outcome. If you want love, act from strength. Respect yourself first. Do not chase. Do not explain. Do not beg. Attraction is drawn to independence, not desperation. If you want influence, detach from everyone's approval. Speak clearly. Act decisively. Lead silently. Let your presence alone communicate your authority. Everywhere you feel weak, that is where you are seeking permission. Everywhere you feel desperate, that is where you are bargaining. You have a choice. Break the cycle. Stop bargaining. Stop pleading. Stop negotiating your worth with anyone or anything. Detachment is not optional, it is necessary. It is the key. Needing is bargaining. Detachment is authority. Say it again. Burn it into your mind. Repeat it until it feels uncomfortable. Repeat it until it feels normal. Repeat it until it guides your every choice. Authority is learned. Discipline is built. Detachment is practiced. And the person who masters this skill becomes untouchable. You practice detachment in your emotional attachment. Now you see the hidden weakness that undermines every interaction. Now you are ready to sharpen your emotional control further. You have mastered bargaining through neediness. Next, you will learn the difference between detachment and apathy. Chapter 3. Detachment is not apathy, it's precision. Most people confuse detachment with apathy. They think stepping back means stepping away emotionally. They think discipline requires shutting down. They think control is indifference. It's not. Care deeply. React rarely. That's the key. You have a choice. You can be numb, empty, and disconnected. Or you can be detached, focused, and precise. Apathy is weakness. Detachment is power. Let's break it down. Apathy says, I don't care. Detachment says, I choose what I let affect me. Apathy avoids responsibility. Detachment masters responsibility. Apathy reacts when forced. Detachment responds when necessary. This is subtle but critical. Most people think detachment means they have to suppress emotion. That's wrong. They think emotional control is about becoming a robot. That's wrong. True detachment is selective emotional engagement. It's not absence of feeling, it's mastery of response. Elite performers show this constantly. An athlete who loses a game badly doesn't implode in the locker room. They analyze. They learn. They improve. They care deeply about the outcome, but they do not react emotionally to the situation in a destructive way. A leader facing criticism does not panic. They evaluate. They respond with precision. They do not let temporary emotion dictate permanent decisions. That's the difference. Care deeply. React rarely. Repeat it. Let it guide you. Why does this matter? Because emotional reactivity is the silent destroyer of potential. When you react to every insult, every setback, every disagreement, you give away control. You let the situation dictate your mental state. You let other people influence your decisions. You allow chaos to live inside you. Detachment solves this. It doesn't remove the stakes. It doesn't remove the consequences. It doesn't make life easier. It makes you untouchable. It makes you precise. It makes your decisions clean and calculated. Here's how to practice it. Step 1. Identify triggers. Notice what provokes you. The things that make your chest tighten, your mind spin, your tongue sharpen. Awareness is the first step. You have a choice. Step 2. Pause before response. When triggered, don't act immediately. Breathe. Think. Evaluate. Decide. Detachment is not absence, it's timing. Reacting impulsively is weakness. Responding deliberately is mastery. Step 3. Anchor your values. Know your non-negotiables. Decide what matters. Protect your internal standard. Emotional storms cannot touch you if your core is grounded. Step 4. Execute with precision. When you act, act fully. Act decisively. Act without letting emotion cloud judgment. Care deeply, but act intentionally. Care deeply. React rarely. This repetition is the key. It creates a mental reflex. It rewires your mind from chaos-driven response to strategy-driven action. Let's look at real-life applications. In business, an executive faces a hostile negotiation. They don't panic. They don't overpromise. They don't argue in haste. They listen. They evaluate. They respond strategically. They win not because of strength of voice, but because of control of mind. In relationships, someone insults you, questions your loyalty, or challenges your choices. You don't explode. You don't withdraw. You observe. You assess. You act with measured clarity. The situation does not control you, the discipline does. In everyday life, your boss critiques your work harshly. Your friend disappoints you. The traffic frustrates you. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It means your inner peace and focus are not compromised. You respond instead of react. That's the difference. Care deeply. React rarely. Why is this chapter essential? Because you mastered attachment in Chapter 1. You exposed neediness in Chapter 2. Now you face the next trap, emotional overreaction. The subtle drain that erodes your power without notice. Emotional control is not about eliminating feelings. It's about mastering them. Every feeling that moves you must be evaluated. Every reaction that pulls you must be measured. Every impulse must serve strategy, not chaos. This is where most people fail. They detach incorrectly. They pretend apathy is power. They suppress emotion until they explode. They numb themselves into weakness. True detachment is precision. It's not about ignoring life. It's about engaging life with clarity. It's about choosing which battles to fight, which words to speak, which actions to take. Care deeply. React rarely. Repeat it again. Burn it in. Use it in every interaction. Let it guide you when provoked, when criticized, when challenged. It will shape your presence, your decisions, and your life. You have a choice. React impulsively and remain enslaved by your emotions. Or respond with detachment and command your reality. Here's the mental exercise. Next time you feel a surge of anger, fear, or desire, pause. Ask yourself, does this reaction serve me? If yes, act. If no, release. You have a choice. Every great performer, every resilient leader, every untouchable person understands this principle. They care, but they do not react recklessly. They choose their engagement. They choose their battles. They choose their responses. Care deeply. React rarely. That's the anchor. That's the lesson. That's the transformation. By mastering this, you fortify the lessons from chapters 1 and 2. You now understand not only how to detach from attachment and neediness, but also how to act without losing clarity, without being moved by chaos. This is a mental discipline that must be repeated, reinforced, and lived daily. You practiced detachment. You eliminated neediness. Now you sharpen precision. You have a choice. Care deeply. React rarely. That clarity leads directly into the next chapter. You've learned control of attachment and authority over neediness. Now it's time to understand the cost of emotional reactivity and why every uncontrolled reaction is quietly destroying your potential. Chapter 4: The Price of Emotional Reactivity. Here's the reality most people refuse to face. Every uncontrolled reaction costs you. Every single one. If they can trigger you, they can use you. You have a choice. You can let your emotions dictate your actions. You can explode at insults. You can chase validation. You can overreact to setbacks. Or you can master yourself. That's the key. Reactivity is silent sabotage. It creeps into every part of your life. It turns conversations into battles. It turns opportunities into missed chances. It turns small mistakes into lasting regrets. Let's examine it closely. Every argument you engage in without control chips away at respect. It signals vulnerability. It signals impulsiveness. It signals that someone else has power over your mind. If they can trigger you, they can use you. Say it again. Let it settle. Now think about online life. Social media has weaponized reactivity. A comment triggers panic. A post is judged. You respond impulsively. You regret it later. You apologize unnecessarily. You damage your reputation. If they can trigger you, they can use you. It's not just online. It's in the office, in meetings, in personal relationships. The small frustrations you let dictate your tone, your mood, your decisions, these moments compound. They weaken you silently, invisibly. And soon, your life is defined by the triggers you failed to control. Let's be blunt. Most people are emotionally reactive because they refuse to pause. They refuse to evaluate. They refuse to anchor themselves internally. You have a choice. You can pause. You can think. You can decide before you act. That's the difference between strength and weakness. That's the difference between authority and chaos. That's the difference between being untouchable and being controlled. Reactivity costs everything. It costs respect. It costs opportunities. It costs mental clarity. It costs self-worth. The pattern is predictable. Someone says something you dislike. You react. Your reaction is visible. Your reaction is aggressive, defensive, or desperate. They adjust their behavior accordingly. They exploit it. They push harder. You react again. The cycle continues. Weakness compounds. Control slips away. If they can trigger you, they can use you. You've seen it before. Everyone has. A heated email sent in anger. A meeting dominated by emotion instead of reason. A conversation where pride takes over. A relationship where a careless word escalates into lasting conflict. The consequences are the same. Regret. Lost leverage. Public embarrassment. Self-sabotage. Now, here's the uncomfortable truth. You are your own worst enemy. You trigger yourself before anyone else does. You escalate situations. You argue unnecessarily. You chase validation. You panic. And every reaction you fail to control is a debt you pay later. A debt that compounds. A debt that others collect without lifting a finger. You have a choice. Reactivity is optional. Discipline is a choice. Detachment is a skill. Emotional mastery is learned. That's the key. How do you break the cycle? Step 1. Recognize triggers. Identify the words, actions, and situations that provoke emotional surges. Awareness is power. Awareness allows pause. Awareness allows decision. Step 2. Delay response. Reacting instantly is weakness. Thinking first is strength. Responding deliberately is authority. Pause. Breathe. Evaluate. Ask, does this serve me? Does this protect my power? Does this advance my mission? Step 3. Create internal anchors. Develop standards, principles, and routines that are unshakable. Your emotional state should not be dictated by external chaos. You have a choice. You anchor your mind. You anchor your response. You anchor your life. Step 4. Practice detachment. Observe situations. Detach from outcomes. Detach from provocation. Detach from the need to control what others do. Care deeply. React rarely. That's the repeated mantra. Let's examine real-world examples. Negotiations fail because someone reacts impulsively to a counteroffer. They reveal desperation. They give up leverage. They bargain from weakness. If they can trigger you, they can use you. Relationships collapse because one partner reacts emotionally to criticism. They escalate arguments unnecessarily. They over-apologize. They cling. They negotiate for affection. Weakness is visible. Control is lost. Social media spirals out of control because every comment is reacted to immediately. They argue. They rant. They post. They regret. They apologize. Influence disappears. Authority evaporates. You have a choice. Every trigger you resist, every reaction you delay, every response you control is a victory. Every pause is power. Every moment of detachment strengthens your mental armor. Repetition is key. If they can trigger you, they can use you. Say it. Repeat it. Internalize it. Let it guide every decision, every action, every word. Now let's talk about discipline. Discipline is the tool that turns awareness into action. It's the practice of choosing calm over chaos. It's the daily exercise of refusing to be manipulated by stimuli. It's the habit of acting from strategy, not emotion. You have a choice. You can let every insult, every disappointment, every frustration control you. Or you can step back. Observe. Decide. Respond. Command. The most successful, influential people understand this. They are triggered far less. They respond with precision. They maintain calm in the storm. They act when necessary. They do not react when provoked. That's the difference between ordinary and untouchable. That's the difference between chaos and mastery. That's the difference between being controlled and being free. Here's the practical exercise for the listener. Every time you feel a surge of anger, irritation, or anxiety, pause. Breathe. Evaluate. Decide. Respond deliberately. Repeat. 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 That's how strength is built. That's how authority is claimed. That's how detachment becomes power. Remember, if they can trigger you, they can use you. Every emotional reaction you fail to control is a doorway to manipulation. Every moment of impulsiveness is a loss of freedom. Every uncontrolled response is a debt to regret. You have a choice. Master yourself. Control your responses. Pause before reaction. Detach from chaos. Build precision. Build discipline. Build power. You have mastered attachment. You have identified neediness. You have learned the difference between apathy and precision. Now you are ready to see the consequences of uncontrolled emotion in action. You know the stakes. You understand the cost. Next, we will uncover why silence multiplies power, and how restraint can make you untouchable in every interaction. Chapter 5. Why Silence Multiplies Power. Here's the reality almost no one practices but everyone notices. Silence is power. Silence is leverage. You have a choice. You can speak first, fill the room with noise, react immediately, or you can pause. You can observe. You can measure. You can command without saying a word. That's the key. Most people fear silence. They think it makes them invisible. They think if they don't speak, they lose control. That's wrong. Silence is not weakness. Silence is strategy. Silence is authority. Think about it. When you speak less, you reveal less. When you speak less, you cannot be manipulated easily. When you speak less, others reveal themselves to you. They underestimate you. They overexpose themselves. They show their intentions. And you collect that information silently. Silence is leverage. Every negotiation you enter, every confrontation, every interaction where stakes are high, you gain more by saying less and observing more. Let's break it down with real-world examples. In negotiations, the person who speaks less almost always gains more. They let the other side fill the void with concessions, explanations, and overcommitments. The silent negotiator watches, listens, and only acts when the time is right. That's leverage. That's control. That's power. In personal conflicts, the person who responds immediately loses. They escalate. They argue. They over-explain. They weaken their position. But the one who pauses, who doesn't react immediately, who allows the other person to reveal their position first, this is the one who gains authority. They do not need to shout. They do not need to dominate with words. Their calm presence speaks louder than any argument. In leadership, silence multiplies influence. The leader who doesn't over-explain, who doesn't panic when things go wrong, who communicates with brevity and clarity, projects confidence. Their team mirrors that calm. Their influence grows. Their authority becomes unquestionable. You have a choice. You can fill the void with noise, reactions, and explanations, or you can use silence as a weapon. Here's the subtle trick most people miss. Silence is not passive. Silence is not absence. Silence is active control. It forces others to move first. It forces them to reveal their strategy, their weaknesses, their intentions. And then you decide how to act. You decide when to strike. You decide when to assert your will. Silence is leverage. Say it again. Let it sink in. Say it aloud. Silence is leverage. Now, how do you practice it? Step 1. Observe first. Don't speak immediately. Don't react instantly. Listen. Watch body language. Notice tone. Understand the hidden messages behind words. Awareness builds control. Awareness builds leverage. Step 2. Pause deliberately. When asked a question or confronted with a situation, take a breath. Count to 3. Let the silence create discomfort for the other party. People hate empty spaces. They panic. They reveal more than they intended. That's your opportunity. Step 3. Respond with precision. When you finally speak, make it count. Your words should be few, decisive, and measured. Every word must have purpose. Silence makes your speech heavier. Silence makes your action sharper. Silence magnifies impact. Step 4. Use silence internally. Silence is not just external, it's internal discipline. When chaos erupts around you, when people try to manipulate or provoke, internal silence stabilizes you. You pause. You evaluate. You respond intentionally. Detachment meets strategy. That's the mastery of power. Every interaction becomes a test. Every conversation is an opportunity. Every silence you maintain strengthens your authority. Examples. A CEO in a tense meeting lets others argue. They stay silent. They watch. They collect information. Then, at the precise moment, they interject with a point so powerful, so concise, it changes the room. Silence prepared that moment. A partner in a relationship avoids reacting to a provocation. They wait. They observe. They respond calmly. The other person reveals their own insecurity. Authority shifts subtly. Respect is enforced silently. A negotiator in business pauses after an offer. They don't rush to answer. The other party, uncomfortable with silence, starts giving more to fill the gap. The silent party gains more leverage. Precision wins. Silence wins. Silence is leverage. But most people misuse it. They confuse it with withdrawal or avoidance. That's a mistake. True silence is purposeful. True silence is strategic. True silence is the presence of control. It's not about ignoring reality. It's about engaging on your terms. It's not about cowardice. It's about authority. It's not about passivity. It's about precision. Care deeply. React rarely. Speak deliberately. Pause strategically. Silence becomes a weapon. Silence becomes power. Silence multiplies leverage. You have a choice. You can speak first and reveal your cards. You can react emotionally and lose influence. You can fill every void with noise, explanation, or reaction. Or you can pause, observe, and act with intention. That's the key. Here's the practical exercise. For the next week, in every conversation, resist the urge to speak first. Observe. Listen. Count internally. Breathe. Let others reveal themselves. Let silence work for you. Only speak when your words serve purpose. Only act when your response is deliberate. Silence is leverage. Repeat it. Burn it into your mind. Let it guide every interaction. Let it shape your presence. Let it reinforce your authority. Every time you feel the need to fill space, repeat, silence is leverage. Your restraint is your power. Your pause is your weapon. Your calm is your dominance. You have practiced detachment. You have mastered emotional control. You have learned to avoid bargaining from neediness. You have honed precision. Now, by embracing silence, you elevate all these skills. You multiply your power. You become untouchable. You have a choice. Speak first and risk loss, or use silence to command every situation. That is the difference between being ordinary and being untouchable. That is the key. Your next lesson builds directly on this: how to detach from outcomes and dominate execution without being chained to results. Chapter 6: Detach from outcomes, dominate execution. Here's the truth that separates the weak from the unstoppable. Results are not in your control. Control actions. Release outcomes. You have a choice. You can obsess over results, panic when they fail, and waste energy on the uncontrollable. Or you can focus on execution, mastery, and relentless discipline. That's the key. Most people are chained to outcomes. They plan meticulously, act frantically, and then collapse when results don't match expectation. They overthink, overanalyze, and overreact. Anxiety rules them. Frustration defines them. And yet, they think this is hard work. It's weakness masquerading as effort. Control actions. Release outcomes. Repeat it. Let it sink in. Elite athletes do this. They train every day, perfect their craft, and show up with focus. They do not obsess over winning every game, every tournament, or every match. They focus on what they can control: their preparation, their effort, their execution. Outcomes follow. Creators, entrepreneurs, builders, they operate the same way. They do not attach identity to every single result. They commit to action, to process, to discipline. Some ventures fail. Some projects underperform. They adjust. They continue. They execute again. They do not crumble. Why? Because control over results is an illusion. Attachment to outcomes creates desperation. Desperation clouds judgment. Desperation forces impulsive decisions. And the world exploits desperation instantly. Control actions. Release outcomes. You have a choice. You can chase results and live in panic. Or you can master your process and live in calm authority. Here's what detachment from outcomes looks like in practice. Step 1. Define controllable factors. Your effort. Your consistency. Your preparation. Your standards. These are yours to command. Obsessing over things you cannot control is wasted energy. Focus on what is yours. That's discipline. That's power. Step 2. Commit fully to execution. Every task, every plan, every project. Execute with precision. Do it completely. Do it relentlessly. Do it for the process, not the result. Excellence in execution creates inevitability in outcomes. Step 3. Release attachment to results. When results come, evaluate objectively. Adjust, improve, iterate. Do not panic. Do not despair. Do not inflate your ego based on success. Control actions. Release outcomes. That's mastery. That's authority. Step 4. Anchor your identity internally. Your value is not tied to outcomes. Your worth is not dictated by applause, recognition, or results. You exist. You act. You produce. That's enough. External validation is optional. Internal standards are mandatory. Let's break down why obsession with results destroys performance. An athlete who constantly worries about winning every game cannot focus on execution. Their mind fractures. Their body hesitates. Every error feels catastrophic. Anxiety spikes. Performance drops. They react impulsively, overcompensate, and sabotage themselves. An entrepreneur fixated on revenue, likes, or client approval abandons strategy for short-term fixes. They chase trends. They overpromise. They compromise standards. They lose the long game. A creator obsessed with views, engagement, or viral content becomes reactive. They mimic others. They abandon authenticity. They trade mastery for validation. All because they confuse obsession with outcomes for discipline. Control actions. Release outcomes. Say it again. Let it guide you. Burn it into your mind. Control actions. Release outcomes. Here's the practical application. Set measurable actions, not guaranteed results. Train. Write. Build. Work. Learn. Repeat. Do not attach identity to success or failure. Judge yourself by effort, standards, and process. Outcomes will follow or they will not. Either way, your mind remains untouchable. Let's explore another example: sales. A salesperson obsessed with hitting the quota will panic when a deal falters. They overcall. They overexplain. They pressure. They reveal neediness. They lose leverage. A salesperson focused on actions, the quality of pitch, the research, the preparation, the follow-up, does not fear outcomes. They execute consistently. The deals that close are a product of mastery, not panic. That's control. That's authority. That's untouchable power. In relationships, this principle is identical. Stop obsessing over getting the outcome you want. Stop expecting reciprocation. Stop attaching self-worth to approval, affection, or attention. Execute your standards. Show up consistently. Care deeply. React intentionally. Control actions. Release outcomes. This principle reinforces everything learned so far. Attachment clouds judgment. Neediness bargains respect. Reactivity destroys leverage. Silence multiplies power. And now detachment from outcomes completes the cycle. It's not about winning every battle. It's about mastering every action. It's not about controlling people. It's about controlling yourself. It's not about obsessing over success. It's about perfecting discipline. You have a choice. Attach to results and live in anxiety, or commit to execution and live in calm authority. That's the key. Here's an exercise to internalize this. For the next week, every time you act, send an email, make a call, create something, focus entirely on execution. Do not project expectations. Do not anticipate results. Do not obsess. Only act. Evaluate later. Adjust. Repeat. Practice detachment. Observe calm. Build discipline. Control actions. Release outcomes. Repeat it. Anchor it. Apply it relentlessly. Let it guide your life and work. Let it strengthen your mind. Let it make you untouchable. By mastering this principle, you neutralize panic. You eliminate desperation. You convert effort into inevitability. Your mind becomes a fortress of precision and discipline. You've mastered attachment. You've overcome neediness. You've learned precision over reaction. You've leveraged silence. Now you complete the cycle by detaching from outcomes and dominating execution. You have a choice. Control actions. Release outcomes. Your next lesson builds on this mastery, teaching you the power of walking away without explaining, asserting authority without negotiation or dependence. Chapter 7. Walk away without explaining. Here's the brutal truth. Every time you feel the need to explain yourself, you give away power. No explanation is the explanation. You have a choice. You can justify every decision, defend every action, and beg for understanding, or you can walk away, silently, confidently, and without permission. That's the key. Most people cannot do this. They cling. They over-explain. They rationalize. They justify. They try to convince others of their worth. And every word, every sentence, every plea chips away at authority. It signals weakness. It signals dependency. It signals neediness. No explanation is the explanation. Repeat it. Let it resonate. When you walk away without explaining, you assert self-respect. You reclaim control. You refuse to bargain for validation. You demonstrate that your time, your energy, and your standards are non-negotiable. Here's the harsh reality most people avoid. Explaining is a silent plea for permission. It says, please validate me. Please accept me. Please understand me. That's not power. That's weakness. Look around. People who constantly explain themselves are exhausted. They are reactive. They are tethered to opinions, judgments, and acceptance they cannot control. And life punishes dependency relentlessly. You have a choice. Walk away without explaining. Protect your energy. Protect your mind. Protect your boundaries. That's discipline. That's authority. That's power. Let's break this down with practical examples. In relationships, someone disrespects you, pushes your limits, or drains your energy. Most people argue, justify, and beg to be understood. They explain why they are right. They explain why they feel hurt. They explain why the behavior is unacceptable. And in doing so, they lose leverage. They reveal vulnerability. They invite further disrespect. But when you walk away without explaining, you create clarity. You assert boundaries. You demonstrate strength. No words are needed. Your action communicates your standards more powerfully than any argument ever could. In business, a deal turns toxic. A negotiation becomes draining. Most people explain their position repeatedly. They justify concessions. They bargain for acceptance. They overcommit. And they lose leverage, credibility, and respect. But when you walk away without explaining, you force the other party to reckon with your standards. Silence communicates authority. Detachment communicates power. Walking away without explanation demonstrates self-possession. Even in everyday interactions. Someone insults you. Someone pressures you. Someone tries to manipulate or guilt you. Your instinct might be to explain, to justify, to defend. That is weakness. That is surrender. That is bargaining for acceptance you do not need. You have a choice. Walk away. Silence speaks louder than words. Presence communicates authority. Boundaries enforce respect. No explanation is the explanation. Here's how to practice this principle. Step 1. Recognize the moment you feel compelled to explain. Notice the urge to justify yourself. Notice the impulse to convince someone else that your perspective is valid. That moment is the test. That moment is where authority is lost or claimed. Step 2. Pause and breathe. Do not speak immediately. Evaluate. Ask, is my explanation necessary? Does it serve me? Or does it compromise my power? Step 3. Choose action over words. Walk away. Exit the conversation. Close the deal. Leave the situation. Terminate the relationship. Move on silently. Detach with purpose. That is strength. That is discipline. That is authority. Step 4. Anchor your identity internally. Your worth does not depend on validation, approval, or acceptance. Your time, your energy, and your standards are non-negotiable. You do not need to explain. You do not need to justify. You do not need permission. No explanation is the explanation. Repeat it. Reinforce it. Internalize it. Let it guide every interaction, every conversation, every negotiation. Let it shape your presence. Let it fortify your mental space. Let's examine why this is transformational. When you stop explaining, you stop bargaining for acceptance. You stop tethering your self-worth to others. You stop giving away leverage. You become untouchable. You create an invisible shield of authority and discipline that others sense immediately. No explanation is the explanation. That's not arrogance. That's self-possession. That's clarity. That's emotional intelligence amplified into action. You might fear backlash, misunderstanding, or judgment. That's normal. That's the exact reason this principle works. Most people fear walking away silently. Most people crave validation. Most people explain endlessly. By refusing to do the same, you set yourself apart. You claim power quietly, deliberately, and irreversibly. Consider this. A business owner walks away from a toxic client without explanation. Most would panic, justify, or overcompensate. The owner walks away silently. The client suddenly realizes the value they were negotiating with. Respect is asserted without a single word. Power is reclaimed. A person ends a draining friendship or romantic connection without explaining their decision. Most would over-explain or plead. They walk away. Silence communicates boundaries, clarity, and self-respect. Influence remains, and dignity is preserved. No explanation is the explanation. Here's the exercise for mastery. For 1 week, identify one interaction, one negotiation, or one relationship where your instinct is to explain. Pause. Breathe. Evaluate. Choose to walk away silently instead. Observe the response. Notice the authority that comes from restraint. Internalize the lesson. Repeat daily. You have practiced detachment from attachment. You have eliminated bargaining from neediness. You have learned precision over reaction. You have leveraged silence. You have mastered detachment from outcomes. Now you perfect authority through action, walking away without explaining. You have a choice. Explain and lose leverage. Or walk away and reclaim authority. That is the key. By mastering this principle, you create a life where your standards are non-negotiable, your boundaries are enforced, and your energy is protected. No explanation is the explanation. Next, we will explore the hidden enemy of mental discipline, distraction and overconsumption, and how silence, detachment, and focus can make you unstoppable. Chapter 8. The Discipline of Emotional Fasting. Your mind is under constant attack. Every notification, every post, every argument, every comment, it's hijacking your energy. You feel powerless because your attention is borrowed. That ends today. Starve distraction. Feed discipline. You have a choice. You can chase every ping, every drama, every high and low, or you can step back, withdraw, and reclaim control. That's the key. Most people fear silence. Silence exposes weakness. Silence shows emptiness. So they scroll. They react. They chase validation. They fill every void with noise. That is slavery. That is surrender. That is giving your mind away. Discipline requires restraint. Discipline requires temporary withdrawal. Discipline requires emotional fasting. Starve distraction. Feed discipline. Step 1. Identify your addictions. Social media. Gossip. News cycles. Arguments. Validation from others. These are chains. They drain your energy. They fragment your focus. They steal your clarity. Awareness is the first step to freedom. Recognize the chains. Name them. Confront them. Step 2. Withdraw intentionally. Step away. Log off. Delay responses. Sit in solitude. Let your mind experience quiet. Observe your reactions. This is not avoidance. This is training. This is sharpening. Discipline is forged in discomfort. Step 3. Observe discomfort. You will feel the pull. Anxiety. Boredom. Urges. Impulses. That is growth. That is training. Every urge resisted strengthens control. Every craving denied reinforces mastery. The discomfort is the signal that you are building mental muscle. Step 4. Rewire through practice. Through emotional fasting, your mind becomes precise. You notice triggers. You resist manipulation. You respond deliberately, not reflexively. You control what others cannot. You become untouchable. Real-world examples. A professional disconnects from social media for a week. Energy previously wasted on trivial posts, arguments, and drama is reclaimed. When they return, every interaction is intentional. Authority rises silently. A student delays replying to messages, ignores minor conflicts, and spends hours in focused study. Emotional triggers no longer dictate energy. Productivity and clarity expand. Self-discipline strengthens. An entrepreneur avoids unnecessary meetings, interruptions, and gossip for days. Focus intensifies on core priorities. Decisions are calm, strategic, and precise. Power accumulates quietly. Starve distraction. Feed discipline. Why it works. Every emotional stimulus hijacks energy. Every reaction wastes potential. Every uncontrolled interaction strengthens external influence over your mind. Emotional fasting breaks the chain. It sharpens focus. It builds resilience. It's not about isolation. It's about recalibration. It's not about detachment from life. It's about selective engagement. It's not about suppression. It's about mastery. Step 5. Apply systematically. Start small. One day without social media. One conversation delayed. One conflict observed instead of reacted to. Extend gradually. Observe clarity, calm, and focus. Repeat consistently. Strength grows exponentially. Starve distraction. Feed discipline. Notice the shifts. Decisions are calmer. Presence is stronger. Reactions are measured. Authority is undeniable. You have a choice. React to every pull and remain enslaved, or detach temporarily and reclaim control. That's the key. Resistance is normal. Your mind will panic. Boredom. Fear. Loneliness. That is exactly why this works. Weak minds crave constant stimulation. Strong minds endure discomfort. Strong minds master pause. Strong minds control impulses. Discomfort is the refining fire. Emotional fasting is the forge of discipline. Practical exercise. For the next 3 days, designate periods of emotional fasting. No social media. No reactive conversations. No impulsive actions. Sit. Observe. Journal reactions. Notice energy levels. Extend gradually. Internalize the lesson. Repeat consistently. Starve distraction. Feed discipline. The payoff. Mental clarity. Emotional resilience. Focused attention. Better decisions. A mind untouchable by external chaos. This practice reinforces everything you've learned so far. Attachment drains power. Neediness bargains authority. Reactivity destroys leverage. Silence multiplies influence. Detachment from outcomes sharpens execution. Walking away asserts self-respect. Emotional fasting amplifies all these principles internally. It consolidates mental strength, sharpens discipline, and reinforces autonomy. You have a choice. Indulge every distraction and remain enslaved, or fast temporarily, strengthen discipline, and dominate your mental domain. That's the key. Starve distraction. Feed discipline. Transition. This prepares you for the ultimate mental fortress, building an inner world no one can touch. Mastery of emotional fasting sets the stage to root your self-worth internally, making external chaos irrelevant. Chapter 9. Build an inner world no one can touch. Here's a truth most people will never admit. Your power is not in what others give you, it's in what you own inside. Self-worth rooted externally is fragile. Approval, attention, praise, they are temporary. They can be taken away. They can be weaponized against you. When you rely on them, you are a puppet. You are enslaved. That ends today. If it's inside, it's unstealable. You have a choice. You can let external chaos dictate your mood, your confidence, your decisions, or you can build an inner world so strong that no one, no event, no failure, no criticism can touch it. That's the key. Let's break it down. Step 1. Root your self-worth internally. Stop looking outside for validation. Stop measuring yourself against others' opinions. Your value is not negotiable. It is not conditional. It is intrinsic. Internalize it. Repeat daily, if it's inside, it's unstealable. Your inner world begins with what you know about yourself, what you stand for, and how you honor your own standards. You don't need their permission to be confident. You don't need their applause to be proud. You don't need their recognition to act. If it's inside, it's unstealable. Step 2. Develop self-trust. Self-trust is the backbone of an unshakable inner world. Make promises to yourself, and keep them. Set boundaries, and enforce them. Make decisions, and stand by them. When you trust yourself, no one else's chaos can destabilize you. Real-world example. A manager faces a team undermining his authority. Instead of panicking, reacting, or seeking approval from higher-ups, he trusts his own judgment. He stands firm. He enforces his standards. The team adapts, respect grows, and his authority remains intact. If it's inside, it's unstealable. Step 3. Set and uphold personal standards. Your inner world is defined by your principles, your habits, and your standards. Decide what you will tolerate and what you won't. Enforce them consistently. Examples. You will not react to insults. You will not chase attention. You will not compromise your values for comfort. Consistency creates power. Predictability in your standards makes your presence commanding. Others cannot influence you if your framework is unbreakable. If it's inside, it's unstealable. Step 4. Practice solitude strategically. Solitude strengthens your inner world. Spend time away from the noise. Observe your thoughts. Challenge your weaknesses. Reflect on your priorities. The stronger your internal foundation, the less external turbulence affects you. Notice how people addicted to attention crumble when alone. Now notice how the mentally strong thrive in solitude. They grow. They reflect. They sharpen. Their power is quiet but undeniable. If it's inside, it's unstealable. Step 5. Control your emotional ecosystem. The external world is unpredictable. People will provoke. Circumstances will test you. Without internal mastery, chaos dictates your life. Control your responses. Control your interpretations. Respond deliberately. React only when it serves you. Your inner world is a fortress, and no external storm can penetrate it. Real-world example. An entrepreneur receives harsh public criticism. Most would panic, retaliate, or over-explain. Instead, she observes calmly. She reflects. She acts strategically. Her calm presence disarms the critics, strengthens her reputation, and preserves her energy. If it's inside, it's unstealable. Practical exercise. Spend 1 hour a day in solitude, free from distractions. Journal your values, standards, and boundaries. Reaffirm your self-worth internally with affirmations. I am enough. I am in control. My power is unshakable. Observe moments when external events try to shake you. Identify how your internal framework withstands the pressure. Do this consistently. Over time, your inner world becomes unbreakable. External chaos loses power. Criticism, failure, and manipulation no longer matter. Starve external validation. Feed internal power. Step 6. Anchor everything with repetition. Your brain needs reinforcement. Repeat these phrases daily. If it's inside, it's unstealable. I own my worth. I act from my inner fortress. The repetition embeds the principle deeply. Your subconscious begins to operate from this unshakable foundation. The payoff. Unshakable confidence. Mental independence. Calm in chaos. Authority that cannot be questioned. Emotional freedom. You have a choice. Build an inner world that no one can touch, or remain a victim of every external storm. That's the key. Internal mastery is the ultimate detachment. It's the principle that binds all previous chapters. Stop clinging to external approval. Reject neediness. Control reactions. Detach from outcomes. Practice emotional fasting. Now you anchor it all inside. Your inner world becomes your power center. No one can touch it. If it's inside, it's unstealable. Transition. With this inner fortress in place, you are ready to project calm, command respect, and instill fear without aggression. The next chapter will teach you how to become calm, feared, and respected in every interaction. Chapter 10. Become calm, feared, and respected. You have a choice. You can let every emotion control you, or you can master them. That's the key. Calm is dominance. Calm is power. Calm is the silent signal that you are in control, and control is what people respect, what they fear, even. Most people are loud. Most people react instantly. They raise their voice, flinch at criticism, panic at pressure. And the world sees it. The world judges it. And the world steps over them. But not you. You don't need their permission to be strong. You don't need their applause to command attention. You only need one thing: control of yourself. Control starts with calm. Think about any leader, any person who truly commands respect. They don't shout to prove authority. They don't overreact to every insult or challenge. Their presence alone says it all. One calm word, one measured movement, and the room bends to their will, not because they demand it, but because they project it. You have a choice to become that presence. And it begins by mastering calm. Calm is dominance. Repeat it. Calm is dominance. Let it sink in. Every time your mind wants to explode, every time anger or fear whispers in your ear, remind yourself, calm is dominance. Your reaction is optional. Your response is optional. Your mastery is mandatory. Here's the truth few people understand: unpredictability destroys authority. A person who reacts erratically signals weakness. Uncontrolled emotion is a map for others to exploit. When you respond with panic or rage, you hand over your power. When you respond with calm, you take it back. Every single time. You have a choice. You don't need their validation. You don't need their fear. You only need your own discipline. Look at historical examples. Look at leaders in business, war, or life who never panic. They sit at the table while chaos unfolds around them. They make decisions with precision because their mind is not clouded by reaction. Winston Churchill remained composed during bombings. Marcus Aurelius meditated in the middle of political chaos. They didn't command attention by noise. They commanded it by calm. You have a choice to emulate them. Calm is dominance. Repeat it. But let's get practical. Calm is not about suppressing emotions. That's weakness. Calm is not about pretending to be unbothered. That's deceit. Calm is about control. Control of thought, control of breath, control of action. Here's what you do. Pause before you respond. Every time someone tries to provoke you, take one full, deliberate breath. 1 second longer than instinct. One thought longer than emotion. That pause is power. That pause signals that you are not ruled by the chaos around you. Calm is dominance. Anchor your presence. Stand tall. Speak slowly. Speak clearly. Make your movements deliberate. When you move with intention, people unconsciously respect it. Calm is dominance. Your body is your first message. If your body trembles, your mind trembles. If your mind trembles, the world knows it. Detach from outcomes. Fear is born from attachment. Fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of loss. Detach. Let the outcome be secondary. Focus on your response. Focus on your presence. Calm is dominance. The world can throw anything at you, and still, you remain unshaken. Practice silent observation. Listen more than you speak. Watch more than you act. Measure before you move. The less you react, the more authority you hold. People fear what they cannot predict. Predictability is weakness. Calm is dominance. Here's something critical. Fear and respect are not opposites. In fact, they often travel together. When you are calm in the storm, when you are unshaken in conflict, people fear crossing you and respect your power simultaneously. They read it in your eyes. They read it in your posture. They read it in your voice, slow and unwavering. Calm is dominance. Fear and respect are earned silently, with discipline, not noise. Remember, your calm is contagious. When you enter a room, chaos takes note. Emotions around you adjust unconsciously. People follow the energy you project. Calm is dominance. You are a silent commander, and the world obeys. Every reaction you restrain, every breath you control, every word you measure builds the invisible fortress of respect around you. But let me warn you, this path is not easy. Most people prefer to explode, to vent, to lash out. They confuse volume with power. They confuse aggression with authority. But you are not most people. You have a choice. Discipline is hard. Calm is harder than rage, more demanding than panic. But calm lasts. Calm builds empires. Calm earns loyalty. Calm commands fear. Calm is dominance. And here's the final lesson of this chapter. No one can give you this power. You can't buy it. You can't demand it. You must cultivate it. Every day, every moment, every interaction. You will be tempted to react. You will be tempted to prove yourself. You will be tempted to lose control. And each time, remember, calm is dominance. That is the key. That is the path. That is the way to be feared and respected simultaneously. You have a choice. Choose calm. Choose discipline. Choose dominance. You don't need their permission. You don't need their approval. You only need to master yourself. Calm is dominance. Repeat it until it becomes instinct. Repeat it until it becomes your identity. Attachment is the invisible enemy you've been defending. You thought it made you human. It made you predictable. Every time you beg for understanding, chase approval, or fear loss, you hand over control. Detachment takes it back. You don't detach to escape life. You detach to master it. You stay calm while others panic. You walk away while others cling. You move forward while others explain. This is your challenge. For the next 7 days, react less, explain nothing, and act with precision. Cut emotional noise. Choose silence. Choose discipline. Detach, or remain controlled by everything you refuse to release.